Howdy, folks. Welcome to episode 2A or B of the Political Patriot. I am your host, Brent Elrod, the Bourbon Baron, coming to you here deep in the heart of the Republic of Texas. And I say episode 2A because I did this yesterday and I didn't do it quite right. Technologically challenged. I think it showed up on X, on our platform over there, and I think it showed up on the Sticks and Stones podcast Facebook page, and I sent it over to or shared it out. So anyway, but I wasn't able to do the live stream on YouTube and X the way I wanted to, and so I just figured I'd do it again. Hey, it's episode 2. We're going to do a retake. So anyway, today, though, if you watched the original episode 2, it's going to be a little bit different because I'm not going to be smoking a cigar, but I am going to be enjoying a very fine bourbon. This is Penelope Rosé Cask Finish. Right up there for you all to see. It is a beautiful spirit. It's a very tasty spirit. As you can tell, I've already indulged. We're going to go ahead. Sorry, the pool robot is taking care of business over there. We're going to try and I forgot how hard this cork was to take out. I do love it, though. Number one, I love corks. If you've never watched any of my Sticks and Stones episodes, you should. It's Sticks, spelled like sticks, -in, -stones. And Stones is funky, STONEZ. Spotify, Apple podcast, Amazon Music podcast. You can find it. So, but anyway, it has a glass cork as opposed to a cork. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and glass some of this up before we get started here. Let you look how beautiful this spirit is going into the glass. Oh, it is wonderful. Now, give you a little bit about Penelope for those of you that are interested. And for those of you that are not, you'll learn something. This is a straight bourbon. It is a non-age statement, but it's a blend of 3 to 4 year old bourbons. The mash bill is 75% corn, 15% wheat, 7% rye, and 3% malted barley. So it's got a lot going on there. And it is 47% alcohol by volume, which is 94 proof. Now, as I said, it is a very beautiful kind of medium to just edging on dark gold. And I mean, you could even say that there may be a hint of pink in there. Goes with the rosé. But on the nose, let me make sure that when I'm not doing the podcast, I always have my whiskey chilled. We'll do it this way. That's what I thought. I get some really nice notes of honey and vanilla. There's a little bit of a floral in there and some caramel and naturally some really nice oak notes. And you can kind of pick up the rum, where I'm thinking, the rosé casks that they're finished in. Like I said, I've paired this one a time or two. It's a really great spirit. Felt like it today. Now, because it's got a fairly decent corn content in it, it does have a little bit of sweetness to it. The higher the corn, the sweeter it will be, because corn is basically just vegetable sugar, for lack of a better term. But then you also do pick up a little bit of spicy from the rye. You hear about rye whiskey. Well, rye whiskey is generally really spicy. It's got a lot of peppery notes to it. It's just that particular grain. So having a 15% rye content does kind of up the spices a little bit. But I do get vanilla and then a little white pepper from the rye. There's a little bit of cocoa in there. And there's also some fruity notes, from the rosé along the lines of like apples and pears. So it's a great spirit. I've got 2 different bottles of Penelope. I'll do the other one on another one of these, because we're going to have a spirit and/or cigar of the day when I do these. I just tend to function better in this type of environment when I am consuming some fruit of the grain, as they say. It is Sunday, and I don't have access to the regular ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, all that. So I just have to watch the NFL Network, where they just take clips and bits and pieces of what's happening in different games, which kind of works for me because I'm all over the place. Anyway, let's get going with today. My Ags, Texas A&M Aggies, were off yesterday after a great win last weekend, 41-10 over the number 9 ranked Missouri Tigers. It's definitely the way to go into an off week. So you got like 2 weeks there that you can kind of, some guys got some little, dude, I'm working over here. So you kind of got some time to get some of those little dings, healed up and everything. But they brought in Connor Weidman. I think that's how his name's pronounced. He'd been on the sidelines a couple of weeks, starting quarterback, and he'd made it back now. While he was out, the freshman Marcel Reed was doing a very good job of keeping his seat warm, and I was really like hoping they'd just go ahead and let Marcel run with it. He's a freshman though, so they went ahead. They brought Connor back, and he did an outstanding job, probably one of his best games ever, and I think that that's probably the right call. That's why I'm not a coach, to go ahead and let Marcel, come in if there's any blowouts or whatever, get some reps, but just sit back and learn because I believe this is Connor's last year. I think he's a 5th-year senior. Now they were, they were hitting on all cylinders though. You had Le'Veon Moss running game. You had Connor Wigman through the air. The defense was looking stellar. I've even heard some ESPN analysts saying stuff like, they are like elite level defense. Okay, well, we've got some games coming up. We'll see how they do. But then I also saw one ESPN analyst that said he was thinking that they might be a dark horse in the national championship run. Pump the brakes on that. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. These guys are always great at prognosticating that A&M is going to be like a top 10 team, and so they'll bring them out. And I think we may have been like number 6 at the beginning of the year or something like that, and we lost the very first game to Notre Dame, and we tumbled all the way out of the rankings. That's just the way they do it. They rank us really high, and we lose a game, and then. So I'm hoping things are going to be better this year, but that's my take so far. We've got some really good games coming up for the next few weeks. Should be winnable games. And then we'll close out the year with LSU and who is right now the number 1 team in the country, Texas. The Texas A&M rivalry is a bad one. We do not like each other. And if you listen to A&M's fight song, we even talk about sawing the horns off the bull. We do not like Texas. So I think it goes back to the Dolly Parton thing. That movie, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. I was a teenager then. That was like the greatest movie I'd ever seen. That's where I first became a fan of A&M. So anyway, now what we're really here to talk about, right? Politics. I'll preface this with saying, since it's just like my 2B episode, that I am a registered libertarian. I have voted for Democrats. I have voted mostly for Republicans. I tend to vote in the federal elections. I'll tend to go with the GOP, but I will vote state and local elections pretty much straight libertarian to just help give us the run because we need it. And I am a libertarian for Trump. Listening to Trump's political director, James Blair, he really drills down on the polls and gives you the details that you might not pick up on when you just see the numbers up there. The Trump campaign has been connecting with voters basically across the board. Ow. Got a bad back. And some of the things that he brought out were things that, unless you did really drill down into the numbers and look at the history, you might not know. Make sure that my hat is not covering my eyes too much. Anyway. And one of the things that he brought out was in Arizona, which there have been competing polls over this weekend for Arizona. One of them had Trump up 2 points, 50 to 48, and the other one had Kamala up 47-45. So it's just the way it is. But he said that if you look at the number of mail-in ballots requested in Arizona, that in 2020, Trump was down over Biden by 8,000 ballots. The Democrats in the state had requested 8,000 more ballots than Republicans had. But that is flipped for this election in 2024. He is ahead in the ballots requested by 83,000. That's a lot. That's a big difference in one election. And I think we're going to see that there's the chance that we're going to see this race come out a lot different than what they're saying. Because I know that, let me say this before I get off Arizona. Arizona is I believe they're a partisan ballot state. So when you request a ballot, you request one as a Democrat or as a Republican. And the fact that we've had so many more requested on the Republican side, or they, that's a really big deal, and that is also the kind of trend in some other states too. I don't have all the details. He was doing a lot of talking, and I was trying to keep up. So, but he also did report that Trump is performing about 5 points better overall than 4 years ago, which is encouraging. If you looked back then, they all said that really, really and truly, the numbers were about the same when you look at the polls. And he's performing about 5 points better now. So it was so close back then. That would lend itself to saying that it's may not be as close this time. So, I don't try to get too excited. I try to remain cautiously optimistic, because cautiously optimistic is a really good place to be. That way you're not completely disappointed. But I know that we are in for a hell of a time if she wins. And I don't really care what color, creed, ethnicity, whatever she is. If Condoleezza Rice would run, I'd vote for her in a minute. That's a woman with a great head on her shoulders. And she was brought up in a less than middle income household. So, she really has gone places in her life, which proves that you can. Doesn't matter who you are. If you grab hold of the opportunities and take them, make the most out of them, you can get somewhere. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, brown, yellow, red, whatever. Grab the opportunities when they come by and give 150%, and you can get where you want to go. You may not get all the way there, but if you want to be a millionaire and you're a half a millionaire, to me, that's still pretty good. I'd take that. Anyway, let's get back on what we're talking about. He also said, and this is something that I've been saying for a long time, he being James Blair, that still today, even after all of the history that we've had over the last 4 or 5 presidential elections, well, since 2000, since the whole Bush v. Gore thing, or Gore v. Whatever it was. Anyway, the whole thing of the man that invented the internet, Al Gore, right? He said that many of these polls are still oversampling Democrats, which skews the numbers and makes them look either closer than they are or has Kamala ahead. Okay, I can see that. I can understand that. Considering that most of the mainstream media is in the pocket of the Democratic Party. Uh, and that they, consistently oversample Democrats. Trump has made big gains in Hispanic voters, African American voters, and I would think even too, the alphabet people. I think some of those, because you look, I don't know this one guy's name, but I've seen his videos. You have Rick Grinnell, who was he was the first openly gay U.S. ambassador to Germany. Trump installed him. He didn't toss him off a rooftop. He made him an ambassador. So right there, the Democratic Party's lying to you because they said that Trump's just going to throw all the gays off rooftops, right? And he did such a good job, and he was such a sharp guy that he made him the director of national intelligence. He promoted him. So not only did he give him a great job, I would think being an ambassador to Germany would be an awesome job. Meine Deutsche nicht so gut, aber verständig. So I like Germany, I really do. But damn fly. And he did a great job, and he's still very active in the whole, GOP kind of campaign machine. And I would like to, seriously, I would like to see Trump bring him back again because he's a really sharp guy. Very well spoken. He's got a good head on his shoulders. And I think he would do a great job. Now, if you look at the Real Clear Politics, which is typically where I go to see, because they have so much information there, and you look at the latest polls, Trump is in a pretty good position. Today's Sunday, he was up 5 points in Arizona. Friday, he was up 1 point in Pennsylvania and was tied in Wisconsin. This is the kind of stuff where you realize that if this is correct, and if he does seem to always outperform his polls, then that means he's probably up significantly in Arizona. He's up 2 or 3 points in Pennsylvania, and he may be up a point or so in Wisconsin. It's not beyond the realm of possibility, right? And for those that are undecided, I know that a lot of people, they say, I just don't like the way Trump talks. I don't like, he sounds like such a bully. Yeah. Okay. For those of you that might be undecided, just listen for a minute. I tell people, they're like, I just don't know that I won't want to vote for Trump, but I sure don't want to vote for Kamala because we need something better than the last 4 years. Well, got to think about it this way. Are you trying to pick a president who will be the leader of the free world? You want somebody that knows what they're doing and can get the job done. Or are you trying to pick a friend that you go out and have a beer with? When my mother was a last time around ardent anti-Trumper because she just didn't like the way he talked. She didn't like his attitude. She didn't like, all that. This time, she's like, you're right. I am trying to pick a president, not a friend. I want somebody that's going to improve my situation. She's retired, living on fixed income, and she realizes that grass ain't always greener. But also, who was the first of all the major players right now? Who was the first one on the ground after the first hurricane, Helene? Was it Biden? No. He was asleep on the beach. Was it Harris? No. She was out in California with her celebrity buddies, Oprah and all them, rubbing elbows, raising $1 billion for her campaign. No, Donald Trump was on the ground within a couple of days with semi-trucks full of stuff and tankers full of gasoline. And he was the first one there. He beat the president and the vice president there by a couple of days. And I know Biden has tried to sly in about the Starlink thing. Well, that was Trump made that call. He called his buddy Elon. Man, we need to get some communications up. Can you help us? And Elon jumped in and did exactly what he always does. He helps. He's an odd figure. You really like him. I mean, he's a genius. He's odd, but a likable odd. No, he's the guy. I'd like to sit down and have a beer with him, you know. And then you had the whole thing of Kamala saying Ron DeSantis won't return my phone calls. And Ron's like, lady, I'm trying to work a hurricane here. I haven't gotten any phone calls from you. I haven't gotten any phone calls from you for the last 3 years when we've had hurricanes. Now all of a sudden you're going to jump in and say, I ain't calling you back. I've been talking to your boss. And Joe Biden came out there and just tossed her under the bus and said, no, he's doing a great job. I've been talking to him. He's getting everything he needs. You know, poor man. I mean, he's well beyond his prime, and he's kind of losing his touch on, towing the party line. He's just saying stuff. Not always good stuff, but and I will tell you this, North Carolina is a mess, maybe even worse than Florida after two hurricanes. I used to go to that area in western North Carolina, Smoky Mountains, that area, every summer as I was growing up, probably 10 years. And these little enclaves, these little towns and communities, they're like well far apart from each other. You have to cross rivers to get to them. The bridges are washed away. I-40 is not predicted to be open in that area right out there around Asheville until September of next year, September of 2025. That is the main artery from North Carolina all the way to San Diego. I think it's San Diego. I think it's San Diego, maybe Los Angeles, and one of those California cities. It's the main artery all the way across. And so now a big chunk of it is going to be impassable for nearly a year. There's going to be a lot of rebuilding. To say that this is the election of a lifetime is not understating it in the least. We have to choose wisely. And if you want somebody that's going to get the job done and do what's best for the American people overall, he's your man. He's already had 4 years doing the job. And then we've had 4 years of him not doing the job, and they have pretty much sucked. And now that vice president in the last 4 years wants to act like she's not in the current administration and that she's running against Trump, and it's time we should turn the page. No, well, we do need to turn the page, but we actually need to turn it back to the guy that had it before. Because if it hadn't been for COVID, we'd have been riding high, and he probably would have won a second term. And we can get into all the conspiracy theories about COVID, but whether it was planned or not. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I do love this cork. It does definitely seal tight. That's for sure. Just need a little bit more. Don't want to overdo it here, but I think I'm just going. Yeah. All right. Oh, and by the way, this is the Cooper series, Penelope. I just noticed that. You do have people out there that will vote Democrat specifically for one or two specific issues. And I'll take a couple of those issues. I'll about take three of them and tell you you're wrong in your thinking and you're listening to the wrong people if you think this is what's going to happen. Number one, he's going to institute a federal ban on abortion. No, he's not. He said he's not. He says it is exactly where it needs to be. It is a decision that the states need to be making themselves. That's the way the Constitution is set up. We cede certain amounts of power to a federal government, and everything else is the job of the states individually. And I think he's right. Now, you're like, well, what about these states that have banned abortion or effectively banned abortion? Well, I'll take I almost said North Carolina again, North Dakota as an example. There is a case that was recently decided in North Dakota, and it's going to be appealed because the state lost. North Dakota had put in basically a complete ban on any kind of abortion, and even made it a criminal offense for a doctor to perform one. and jail and fines and probably lose your license, all that kind of stuff. And so naturally, the normal ACLU, Planned Parenthood, all they sued, and they won. The judge said this is not constitutional. And so these cases will have to work their way through court to get to the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court will, and I believe that, you know, this is right. It should be with the states. But as with many other things, there should be kind of guidelines, kind of a roadmap. No, you cannot ban it. But here are the limitations of where you can operate in. And it's just like with guns. Some states have more restrictive gun license or gun regulations, and some have less. But there's not a state where you cannot buy a firearm. You know, even Chicago, which has some of the most stringent gun laws in the country, you can still drive outside of town and buy a gun and bring it back in because that's state. The state has said, you know, they going with the guidance the Supreme Court has given, and they have to do it this way. And I think that will be the same thing. And then the other two main issues are the alphabet people, as Dave Chappelle calls them. When Trump won the first time, he said, or they said about him, he's going to be tossing gays off rooftops. Well, he's president for 4 years and none of that happened. Joe Biden said that if you didn't vote for him, you weren't black enough. And he said that, the first time around in 2016, they were saying that, oh, Trump's going to send all the black folks back to the cotton fields. That didn't happen either. As a matter of fact, now after 4 years of Biden, there's a whole bunch of African Americans that are like, F this. What has the Democratic Party done for us? We're going to vote for him. And he is polling much better than his Republican predecessors. He wants to lower taxes on everyone. You know, when you start talking about, oh, they say, oh, he just wants to give the rich people tax breaks. Well, he wants no tax on Social Security, which is the way it actually was originally until the 1980s. That's not rich people. Social Security drawers are not rich people. He wants no tax on tips. That's waitresses and bartenders, and that's not the rich people. And he wants to lower regulation. He wants to cut the budget, and he wants to keep us out of wars. There was not a single war that happened that wasn't already happening when he went into office. Putin had already taken Crimea, and then he sat back for 4 years and didn't do anything. And then as soon as Biden got in office, he invaded Ukraine. And that's where he's been ever since, trying to fight it out there. I don't think he really realized that the Ukrainians would fight as hard as they have, because they've been some fighters. But I think as far as we don't need to be having a lot of foreign money going, or money going over to foreign countries. But at the same time, we can support our allies, you know. Hey, we'll say you stuff. We'll lease it to you, you know, whatever. But all this stuff with sending money to Lebanon and all that, no. We got people here at home that they're up in the mountains right now with roads out, bridges out. They have no water, no food, no electricity, and the place that's supposed to be helping them is sending money to terrorist organizations overseas. So why do we keep sending money to people that hate us? And he also wants to finish building, as Kamala says, his vanity project. He wants to finish the wall. He wants to close the windows and widen the doors. As if you want to come in, you got to come in through the door. You got to do it the right way. I heard just this morning, I think this was on last night's his Aurora, Colorado rally, that he wants any migrant that is a member of a gang that, or really any migrant, but he specifically mentions a gang because of what's happened in Aurora. If you kill an American, it's death penalty. Yeah, sure. Okay. I'm in Texas. If you kill somebody, we will kill you back. It's just our policy. But all this sneaking over the border has got to stop. The Biden administration has had 10, 12 million people come in illegally. We can't even track them all. There is something like 400 people that are on the terrorist watch list that are roaming around here in the country somewhere. The two guys that tried to run the gate, they were Jordanians that tried to run the gate at Quantico, had terrorist ties, and they were here illegally. We got to stop that. You may not like the way Trump talks, but he gets the job done. And somebody made this point the other day on one of the talk shows I listen to, podcasts, that yeah, Trump he may be a little bit arrogant in his talking. He may be a little bit bullish in his talking, but it's all what makes Trump Trump. That if he didn't have that part of his personality, he probably wouldn't be as effective as he is. And he's a billionaire. Oh, he's filed bankruptcy so many times. He's used the laws to his advantage. If you don't like what he's doing, get the laws changed. That was one thing I I like listening to Dave Chappelle. He's funny, but he says some serious stuff. He's talking about when Trump won the first time. He's talking about when he was debating Hillary, and she was saying like, "This man doesn't pay his taxes," and he's like, "That makes me smart." And he said, "Look, if you want me to pay my taxes, then change the rules. But you won't change the rules." He's talking directly to Hillary. You won't change the rules because your friends and your donors use the same rules I use. Wow. That's a lot right there. There's a lot to unpack in that statement, and it's true. But back to the terrorist countries, let Israel put an end to Hezbollah and Hamas. Stop giving them grief. They're our greatest ally, really, probably in the world, but definitely in the Middle East. And once they stamp out all the terrorism, then go back in, and you've got the Abraham Accords as a roadmap already, and go in and try and make peace with all these other little countries and tribes and all that's in that area, so that we can have a stable Middle East. I think a stable Middle East is going to help everybody. You know what I mean? The other option, though, this was all on Trump. The other option is higher taxes, higher crimes, unfettered illegal immigration, bloated spending. We are $35 trillion in debt, and inflation is killing us. And remember, this is a Milton Friedman moment here. If you haven't ever looked at any of his videos, he's passed away now, God rest him. But he was a economics, I think he was an economics professor at like UCLA, and brilliant man when it comes to this kind of stuff. And he said, government is the only one that can create inflation. Producers can't do it. Buyers can't do it. It is a product of government, and it is a product of government because government is printing money and spending money that they don't have, and the more they print, the less it's worth. Think about rare things. Rare things, the rarer they are, the more expensive they are. The more of them there are, the less expensive they are. And it's the same thing with money. The more of it there is, the less it's worth. So, so it's not going to go away. You think it's bad now. Just if Kamala wins, just wait and see. It'll get worse. If you remember, they talk about how much they brought gas prices down. Right now, gas is almost double what it was when Trump left office. Basically, it is about double what it was, and they brought it down to double. It was in some places triple. Now But on the inflation side of it, it's not all the Democrats' fault. I have to call it like I see it. And Trump was in office, COVID hit. We started sending out stimulus checks to everybody. Hey, I cashed my checks just like everybody else did. But I was telling my wife, we're going to have to pay for this at some point. It's going to come back and bite us. And it did. But I was like everybody else. I wasn't going to send the check back. But if you think about it, which president here in modern times has not taken a salary to do the job? Donald Trump. They wouldn't let him not take a salary. He had to take a salary. But then he turned right around and wrote checks back for that amount to the National Park Service or, one of those agencies that could use the funding. And you don't see Kamala doing that. You don't see Biden doing that. You didn't see Obama doing that. Now, Muchel is out there telling us all we need to be giving in a little bit so that we can bring everybody up. Yet she has mansions in Martha's Vineyard, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Hawaii. All right, you got like $30 million in property. Why don't you get up off some of it? I'll wait. No, she won't, because it's not do as I do, it's do as I say. And that's how the Democratic Party, and when I say the party, I mean the politicians, that's the way they work. It's always rules for thee and not for me. Well, like I said, this was kind of a messed up episode because I kind of did this yesterday and it just didn't work out the way I wanted. But I had to jump back in today. I did want to get it right before I move forward. But I really enjoyed getting to do this a second time, and I look forward to doing it again. You can find the Political Patriot podcast on Spotify, on Amazon Music, and I'm working on other platforms. I know this live streams on X and YouTube, so you can see it there too. And please hit like, subscribe, share, notify. Send me some, make some comments. Let me know if I'm doing okay, because before this, and I'm still doing it, but before this, I did the Sticks and Stones Cigar and Spirit Show for 4 years, and just wanted to branch out into something a little different. I'm still doing the cigar and spirit pairing thing, but I just felt like it was important to get some of my thoughts out there, because I'm raised a country boy, got a law degree, and love the Constitution. Spent 21 years in the military. Raised my hand, went to Iraq, went to Afghanistan, Pakistan. And I know we've got a big choice coming up in a few days, and we've got to make the right choice. Until next week, keep your sticks dry, your stones cold. Have a great day.